I said I would do a follow-up as soon as I had a copy of the indictment. I have a copy of the indictment.
And here is the follow-up.
Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and on Saturday I did a vlog about the Friday afternoon arrest of Millie Weaver. She is a journalist who has done contract work for InfoWars, who just put out a documentary called Shadowgate, and on Friday she was arrested under circumstances that caused a bit of a stir. She and her husband were arrested at the time, it seemed, for burglary by an officer who didn't seem to have the warrant for her arrest on him at the time of her arrest, and she spent the weekend in jail. Now, the timing of her arrest was very peculiar because she was arrested on the day that she released her documentary called Spygate, which had to do with shadow governments controlling the government and politicians through blackmail, and because she was being arrested on robbery based on what the arresting officer said, a lot of us were drawing some connections between her arrest and Julian Assange. The vlog I made focused on the question as to whether or not the burglary charges related to some of the documents that she featured in her documentary that were leaked to her by an apparent whistleblower. And speaking of Robert Barnes and speaking of Julian Assange, Robert Barnes has a very interesting perspective on the burglary charges. What happened to Millie Weaver likely reflects local authorities weaponizing the theory in the Assange indictment, criminalizing journalism that obtains information from whistleblowers. This is why the Assange indictment threatens the First Amendment so dangerously. Now, let me just preface this by saying that none of this is an affirmation as to the guilt or innocence of Millie Weaver. And the question of burglary as relates to publishing information that might have been provided by a whistleblower is in fact an interesting legal question as well. And then over the weekend, as additional information continued to trickle out, some people were suggesting that this had nothing to do with the documentary, but rather an incident between Millie and her mother and a $50 cell phone. And this because of a comment on a YouTube video from someone purporting to be Millie's mother, which reads as follows. Felicia McCarran, this is Millie's mother. It's my cell phone worth about $50 that she took during a family dispute that happened months ago when I was in Ohio visiting my family. She took it because I had my phone on recording during an argument we were having. We resolved the issue immediately and I dropped all charges right after it happened before I left Ohio because it was a gross misunderstanding and no harm was done. All families have their disagreements, especially during a quarantine. In California, nothing happens when you call the police. I am shocked my family was arrested after I told the police to drop all charges months ago. I had a general affidavit of non-prosecution notarized today and I spoke with the police chief who told me I could not do anything until Monday morning and my daughter, son, and her boyfriend have to stay in jail over the weekend. I am extremely upset. This is not what I wanted to happen. I think they have a lot bigger fish to fry. Makes me think this might have been done to prevent her from coming out with some political information she is covering. There was no reason for this. I verified with the police that this is the reason for her arrest. Beyond ridiculous. I can't believe it. Grand jury indictment for her mom's cell phone. 3 question marks. Well, today the secret indictment, which I am told is Ohio lexicon for a sealed indictment, was revealed to the public and I have a copy of it in my hands. And although the indictment is widely available online, I would like to thank Ohio attorney Sean P. Martin from Martin Law Office for sending it to me first thing in the morning. Thank you very much, Sean. And with that said, let's read through the indictments because they are going to raise more questions than they are going to answer. Indictment: robbery, tampering with evidence, obstructing justice, domestic violence. Count 1, the state of Ohio, Portage County. Of the term of July in the year of our Lord 2020, the jurors of the grand jury of the state of Ohio within and for the body of the county aforesaid on their oaths, in the name and by the authority of the state of Ohio, do find and present that Millicent F. Weaver, Charles L. Weaver Jr., and Gavin S. Wintz on or about the 25th day of April 2020 at the county of Portage, state of Ohio, aforesaid did, in attempting or committing a theft offense as defined in section 2913.01 of the revised code, or in fleeing immediately after the attempt or offense, recklessly inflict, attempt to inflict, or threaten to inflict physical harm upon Felicia McCarran. Said act being robbery, a felony of the 2nd degree, contrary to and in violation of section 2911.02 of the Ohio Revised Code, and contrary to the form of the statute in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state of Ohio. Now, the form of the indictments is identical for all 4 of them, so I'm just going to skip to the charges for the next 3 indictments. Knowing that an official proceeding or investigation is in progress or is about to be or likely to be instituted, did alter, destroy, conceal, or removed a record, document, or thing with the purpose to impair its value or availability as evidence in such proceeding or investigation. Said act being tampering with evidence, a felony of 3rd degree, contrary to and in violation of section 2921.12 of the Ohio Revised Code, with the purpose to hinder the discovery, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of Millicent F. Weaver, Charles L. Weaver Jr., and or Gavin S. Wintz for a crime, or to assist another to benefit from the commission of a crime, communicate false information to any person, and the crime committed by the person aided is a felony of the 5th, 4th, or 3rd degree. Said act being obstructing justice, a felony of 5th degree, contrary to and in violation of section 2921.32 of the Ohio Revised Code. And finally, finally, recklessly cause serious physical harm to the family or household member, said act being domestic violence, a misdemeanor of the first degree, contrary to and in violation of section 2919.25b of the Ohio Revised Code. Filed, Court of Common Pleas, July 20, 2020. And then we have the warrant, which is also filed on July 20th, 2020. In the Court of Common Pleas, Portage County, Ohio, prosecuting attorney's request for issuance of a summons or warrant on indictment. In re State of Ohio versus Millicent F. Weaver. To the clerk, the person named above has been named as a defendant in an indictment returned by the Portage County Grand Jury, issues a warrant to the Sheriff of Portage County and direct him to execute it upon the defendant at the address stated in the information sheet provided to the Sheriff by the prosecuting attorney or at such other address or place as the defendant may be found. So those are the charges, and it seems to give credibility to the comment on that YouTube video from someone purporting to be Millie's mother over the weekend that this in fact did not relate to any of the documents or information used in her documentary Spygate, but rather it relates to a $50 cell phone that was recording a family dispute. This may or may not be the entire story, and chances are it is not, but let's get back to the indictment itself, which is particularly interesting to read. Now, I've done a few vlogs breaking down and explaining indictments in the Michael Avenatti case, in the Felicity Huffman case, and generally speaking, they are much more thoroughly drafted than the summary indictments in Millie Weaver's case. But from what I've been explained by attorneys who I have no doubt know more about this than I do, indictments are jurisdictionally dependent, and in certain jurisdictions they can be very thoroughly drafted, whereas in others they can be summarily drafted like this. And as I've also been explained by lawyers who I have no doubt know more about this subject matter than I do, it is extremely uncommon for there to be a secret indictment in these types of situations. Moreover, setting aside extenuating circumstances, it is equally peculiar that it should have taken almost a month to execute this warrant, which was issued on July 20th, 2020. So while we don't know what evidence was on Millie's mother's cell phone that Millie and her husband allegedly tried to destroy, it does not seem as though the theft or robbery relates to any of the information or leaked documentation that appeared in her documentary Spygate. Subject to change as more information continues to trickle in, but one thing I think we can all agree on, this smells fishier than a pike in summer. A warrant executed nearly 4 weeks after it was issued, the day Millie Weaver releases her documentary based on 4 secret indictments resulting from a family squabble in the month of April. This is very Julian Assange, and you know that this is going to raise a lot of questions for a lot of people. Does this have anything to do with the release of the documentary? Is this more weaponizing of the prosecutorial process like we've seen in the McCloskeys? Is this just flexing the arm of the law like a morning raid on Roger Stone? Those are some of the questions. These are the facts and the law as it is currently known as of the date of shooting this vlog, and I will be following up with any news as it comes out. At the very least, Millie and her husband have been released from jail to go home to their 2 young children. They have been released on their own recognizance from what I understand, and apparently her GoFundMe page has raised upwards of $160,000. But that is the update I promised you. Stay tuned for more updates, and if you like my videos and like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, all the support links are in the pinned comment. We've got PayPal, Subscribestar, Patreon, YouTube membership. We've got merch. I also do a podcast with Robert Barnes from our live streams called Viva and Barnes Law for the People. You can find it on iTunes, Podbean, and other places. But more important than that, check in on your friends and family, make sure everyone around you is doing well, get outside, get some exercise, enjoy what is left of the rest of the summer, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah!